Hello viewers, in this video lecture I am going to speak about novel, how novel emerged as a predominant art form, the social conditions that paved the way for the advent of the novel, and the classification of novels based on theme and form. When we think of the origin of different art forms, it was the poetry that came first. Only the aristocratic families were educated and they would enjoy poetry written about kings, queens, goddesses, landscapes, and all. And then came drama. Drama came to instruct the masses who were quite illiterate and unlettered as to how they should behave in a civil world. And regarding the origins of the novel is directly related to the emergence of a new section of society called the middle classes. Until industrialization happened, England had only two sections of people, one aristocratic and two the poor masses. While the aristocratic families entertained themselves with poetry, the masses had drama to entertain them. With industrialization came into being a new section of society called the middle classes. These middle classes were neither so well educated that they could appreciate poetry, nor so lowly that they could enjoy drama. One more thing is, industrialization and the high level of production meant that people had to travel far and wide. They traveled by ships, and these journeys were long and tiresome. So they demanded that they should be given some kind of art form which was about themselves, their problems, so that they can forget the homesickness for a while. And their prayers were answered in the form of novel. Novel, as we know, is a long story told in prose. It deals not with gods, goddesses, kings, and queens, but about ordinary people like you and me. So, this particular thing called novel was well received by the middle classes. It became the favorite art form of the middle classes. Novels are classified based on theme and form. Based on the story of a particular novel, we give it a different name. Likewise, based on the way it is communicated, we give it a different name. Picaureque Novel. Picore is a Spanish word, and this word picore in Spanish means a rogue. A picaresque novel is one in which the protagonist is involved in so many different episodes This particular novel, Picaureque Novel, does not have any well-knit plot to it. And it is only this particular protagonist who relates to all these episodes. Anyways, the Picor is a lovable rascal who remains the same right from the beginning of the novel till the fag end of the novel. There won't be any change in his character through the novel. Incidentally, the first novel in English, that is Robinson Crusoe, belongs to this particular genre called Picaureque novel. There is another type of novel called novel of formation or novel of education. What happens in a novel of this kind is the protagonist, who is quite a novice, who does not have any understanding regarding the ways of the world at the beginning of the novel, faces quite a number of trials and tribulations and incidentally grasps some kind of education. That is, there is considerable change in the character and mental makeup of the protagonist when we compare him at the beginning of the novel through the end of the novel. And there is, however, a subsection of this particular kind of novel that is called Consul Roman. Consul Roman, also known as artist novel, is a novel in which the protagonist, who is quite new to his profession, be it singing or writing or music or whatever it is, emerges as a well-known artist by the end of this novel. Just as we have a novice turning into a full-fledged mature personality in a novel of education, in a novel known as artist novel, the novice becomes a full-fledged artist. Next, historical novel. Historical novel is a novel where the writer takes quite a few characters and quite a few episodes from history and weaves his story around these characters or events. The best example that can be given for historical novel is Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. A Tale of Two Cities is woven around the historical events of the French Revolution. And Sir Walter Scott is considered to be the master of this particular genre called historical novels. Most of the novels written by Sir Walter Scott are woven around some historical event or the other. Regional novel. In a regional novel, the novelist sets his novel at a particular geographical area, sometimes real or sometimes imaginary, and depicts the living conditions of the people of that region, their culture, their language, their beliefs and ethos, everything pertaining to that particular geographical area. For example, Thomas Hardy's novels are set at a place called Wessex County. They show us the culture, the ethos of people living in that particular county. Likewise, Orkan Narayan's novels are set at a place called Malgudi, an imaginary place called Malgudi, and we get to know the culture, everything related to the people of that particular area. Sociological novel. Sociological novels depict the conditions that are prevalent in society, the problems faced by people or certain sections of people in a particular society, and they sometimes go to the extent of suggesting certain measures to solve these problems. For example, many of the novels written by Charles Dickens throw light on the prison conditions prevailing in the prisons, the need for reforms in prisons, etc. And there have been instances where parliamentarians have taken solutions to certain problems from certain sociological novels. That is, these writers of sociological novels have suggested certain measures to solve problems that are facing the entire society or certain sections of the society, and these suggestions have been carried into the law books. Such is the greatness of this kind of novels called sociological novels. Gothic novel. By Gothic novel is meant a horror novel. Robert Walpole and Anne Radcliffe started the trend for this kind of novel, and these novels are set in huge buildings, forests, and other dreary places. And Jane Austen satirizes this kind of novel and the trend for Gothic novel in her Northanger Abbey. Another type of novels are Utopian novels. Utopia is an imaginary world where everything is perfect. Utopia is a book written by Sir Thomas More about an ideal place where everything is quite fine. And novels which show the world or future of the world as being quite perfect, without any problems, without any diseases, without any problem like wars or hunger, are known as utopian novels. That is to say that in a utopian novel, the novelist presents his view of the world as being quite perfect, devoid of any problem, as everything being quite hunky dory. Such novels are known as utopian novels. A dystopian novel is the antithesis of a utopian novel. While utopian novels present the world as an ideal place where everything is quite perfect, a dystopian novel presents the world or the future of the world as being very bleak. For example, George Orwell's novels Animal Farm and 1984 show a very bleak picture of the world where liberty and freedom have been snatched by the ruling sections. So, this kind of novels are known as dystopian novels. William Golding's Lord of the Flies can also be taken up as an example for the dystopian novel. School children who are supposed to be quite disciplined behave like savages when they are left to themselves. So all these type of novels are known as dystopian novels. Thanks for watching, and in my next video I will be giving you the classification of novels on the basis of their form. Thank you very much.